Boxing King Media in association with Boxro out here in London at the Usyk Joshua 2 press conference with boxing legendary when it comes to reporting. Bunsey, what did you make of the two presses? You've seen them now, you've seen both guys face to face. What are you thinking?
Well, the one in Saudi cost an awful lot of money and it looked fantastic. You know, any press conference where you walk out live and the sun's just setting over a glorious piece of ocean, and there you can see the outline of trees and some glittering lights, and the lights fading as they do a face-off. I mean, that's what you create. And the press conference itself out there was fine, and I thought there were some nuggets here today in central London. Okay, on the surface it was straightforward stuff, A and B, and Eddie Hearn setting it up. But then there were a couple of little lines buried from both of the boxers. You know, anything that Usyk says at the moment, I know he's talking for Alex Krasik, his manager and translator and friend, let's get that right. Anything he says with regards to the war in Ukraine has to be listened to. This is not second and third hand. This is not a snippet. It's him telling us basically where he was, 4 or 5 weeks ago. He knows people that have died. He knows boxers that have died, not necessarily next to him, but he knows people that have died. And so that was really good. That was. I'll say good. That's the wrong word. That was, you know, you listened when he was talking about the war and the conflict and where his heart was. That was really nice stuff. And AJ let one little line slip. He acknowledged the mistakes he'd made in the first fight. Now, we all sitting at ringside or watching it on TV or listening to it on the radio, of course, we knew what those mistakes were. You didn't do this, you didn't do that. But AJ acknowledged them. And when I talked to him later on for BBC 5 Live, he went through one or two of them. And they're the things that we've all seen and we all know. So I thought visually Saudi was great, and I thought this was perfectly good fun. Bit crowded, bit chaotic, maybe too many people organising it. There's about 17 different companies organising it, which is always a worry. I like any press conference to be organised by one team, one outfit only, not 17 others. It's ridiculous. There are more people here with a clipboard. It was ridiculous. But yeah, I thought there was some decent bits, considering, press conferences are mostly staged. Let's get that right. But I thought there was a half a dozen little lines buried in the press conference today. So the short answer, after this long answer, is that I enjoyed it.
Good man. At the minute, we're like 6 weeks away, and I can't remember in my lifetime a fight where we still don't know what channel it's going to land on. I know people are saying that it's going to be the Zone, but officially, from what I'm hearing today, is the rights have been sold to Saudi. They could sell them to anyone.
Yeah, the people that pay for the fight, the Saudi Arabian company that pay for the fight, they own everything. And by the time this gets published, they may have sold them on. And I'm sure the people that are trying to buy them, the channels that are trying to buy them, and the individuals that are in at the bidding table, I'm sure they're all quietly confident. It will be a combination of money, because obviously the Saudis are not going to give stuff away, but it'll also be a combination of money and exposure and reach, and what the people sitting down with them around the table will tell them. But I find it quite insulting, really, that people imagine that the Saudis are somehow naive in that sense. You know, they're not fools. You know, if you went in there with a massive bag of gold, that's not necessarily going to win you the rights. And if you went in there and you said, well, it's going to be watched by 17 billion people worldwide, that's also not going to win you the rights. It's a combination. They're great negotiators around the world in different businesses, the Saudis. And when they do a deal, they think it through. So they'll have a good hard look at the offers on the table, and we'll find out whether it's going to be on DAZN, which of course is where AJ's heading, and of course where Eddie Hearn is now at the helm, boxing wise, and whether it's going to be on Sky, which is of course where Eddie Hearn once was the promoter, and where AJ has been since he turned professional. So we'll find out soon. But you're right, this doesn't happen. But then, you know, we haven't had way back since the 70s when Don King was selling Muhammad Ali fights. So we haven't had anything like that. We haven't had anything like that since then, anyway.
Would it shock you if it ends up on Sky? Because I did ask Adam Smith earlier, and he was quite coy about it. But would that shock you?
Absolutely not, because, as I say, the Saudis will look at it, and it won't just be based on money. It'll be based on reach. It'll be based on how much of an impact it can have. Because the Saudis are doing this, and the other sports events and other business events they've been hosting massively over the last 5 or 6 years. They're doing this to raise the profile of the country. They don't necessarily need to prop up the coffers. They've got enough money flowing in, every single second. It's about impact, and it's about reach. And so, no, of course, it wouldn't surprise me if it was on Sky. Not at all. It wouldn't surprise me if it was on. It would surprise me if it's not on DAZN or Sky. It would surprise me if it's not on one of those two, but it wouldn't surprise me if it was on Sky.
Just two more questions, Bunsey. Slight change of subject. Tommy Fury, obviously, was reported yesterday. He's put it out on his Instagram that he's been denied entry to the US. Obviously, from your experience of boxing, have you seen anything like this before? Obviously, apparently, he was in LA last month. Obviously, he wasn't stopped then, but whilst all this thing came out, is it fair that he's been denied a living just because of association? And what's your opinion?
Well, it looks like he's been. If Tommy Fury was in Los Angeles last month and he got in and out okay, assuming he went via America and didn't creep in via Mexico or Canada, assuming he went to LA via an airline and landed at LAX, and assuming he did go to Heathrow and was refused entry to the plane and therefore entry to USA, assuming those two things are true, then it would seem ridiculous that he was allowed into America 4 weeks ago and he wasn't allowed into America at this point for the press conference, which was going to be taking place at the exact same time as we were here in London with AJ and with AJ and Usyk. That seems ridiculous, and of course, it's not a suggestion. I've read something that Tommy said. I don't know why. Well, of course, it's your brother. Your brother was connected with a company that's disbanded and involved with a man who now has nothing to do with the company that has been disbanded. And we had a recent fight when Katie Taylor fought in Madison Square Garden. 3 different individuals, all of them very legitimate broadcasters. One of them a former top quality professional boxer, and one a world-class trainer. We know that they were also refused permission to travel because of the same thing. It's an association with a company that no longer exists and a man who is no longer involved with a company that no longer exists. Yeah, so we know that's what it is. I mean, it's not a mystery, and it shouldn't be a mystery to anybody. However, the mystery here is that if Tommy Fury was in LA 3 or 4 weeks ago, then how could he get to LA 3 or 4 weeks ago and not be able to go to New York for a press conference? And if that happened, then if I'm the Americans, I'm wondering how he slipped through the net the first time.
Is it fair? Because officially, from my knowledge, no one's actually got any criminal convictions of people that they're talking about. It all seems to be based on reports.
It's an interesting thing because the accusations are real. But what's not been proved is if the accusations are factual. So it's one thing issuing a warrant for someone, that's a fact. If you issue a warrant for someone, that's a fact. But that doesn't mean the person's guilty. That doesn't mean the person committed the crimes that you're suggesting he committed in the warrant. But the fact that there is a warrant, that's a fact. And as you say, no one has been arrested and charged, and certainly no one's been arrested, charged, and convicted. It's a little bit. The expression is a little bit above my pay grade. It's carried on for a lot of years, this whole situation, and it seems to be coming to a head. There's lots of high, powerful agencies in the USA involved, which would explain why people have been barred from travelling to the USA on business as British Boxing Board of Control. One of them was no longer a licence holder, but the others, two of them aren't licence holders. 2 of them were, 3 of them were. So that's part of our British boxing business, and these guys have not been able to travel or earn a living. That's just a simple fact. That's not open to interpretation. That's also a fact.
Thank you for that, Bunsey. Last question, Adam Azim. I saw you at the fight the weekend. I saw you excited by him. Just want to get your opinion on what you think of him as a fighter. And obviously people are comparing him to a young Amir Khan. What do you see in him, and Where does his career go?
Is very similar to Amir in the sense that he's gangly like Amir, because Amir was a baby when he turned professional, 18, 19 years of age, 18 I think. And this kid's 19, he's not 20, he's not 20 yet. And they both get excited when they hurt a guy, and they both let their hands go in the same way. So they get excited. I mean, so there's that thing about them. I like him a lot. It's we've got to try not to get too excited about a kid, because you don't want to put him under too much pressure, because he's been put under pressure, and I think it's reminding me of just how much pressure Amir was under when he turned professional. How many different people were steaming into him and we'd do this, we'll go here, we'll open this up, we'll set this foundation up. When a kid was 18 years of age, it was quite overwhelming. We maybe forgotten that. I was very much part of that. I'm still close to Amir now, but I was very close to Amir 2004, 2005, and to his father Shah, and to Mick Jelly at Berry Club, and Asif Valley, who used to do a lot of the sort of run around for them, was the sort of business manager. And boy, oh boy, every single week they'd have something ridiculous, We'll get an airline, we'll get this restaurant, we'll get a chain of restaurants, we'll buy this island. It was just overwhelming. The kid was 18 years of age. He was still at home getting a clip round the ear from his mother if he didn't show up on time to eat food. And yet he was he was going to be billions and trillions. And I see a little bit of the same with Adam. And I think Adam and Hassan is his slightly older brother. I think the three of them, and the father rather, they have to really form a tight unit to get Adam and Hassan through what's going to be a really tricky few years, to be perfectly honest with you. It's not that simple being highlighted and targeted and called the next fill in the gap. It ain't easy, brother, you understand me? You're the next Frank Bruno, the next Carl Froch, the next Ricky Hatton, the next Amir Khan, the next Nassim Hamed. There's been an awful lot of guys that not only fall short, they fall way, way, way short. So a lot of pressure comes with becoming the next something. And this kid, there's no way he can go away and just get on with his business, because he's been pushed a little bit. Five Live ran bits and pieces of him over the weekend. He's a 5-bout novice. There's 970 other boxers in the country, and only about 950 of those get on 5 Live. And now Adam Azim, after 5 fights, has been mentioned. Yeah, it's going to be really entertaining watching him, and because there is something special there. It's not just a kid that hits people who's fast. No, there's something special.
Bunsey, thank you so much for your time. I know your time's precious, so I appreciate you giving me 10 minutes plus. So we'll speak soon.
My pleasure, absolutely.
Thank you.
Top stuff.